Hello beautiful soul. In this video I want to share how I changed my mindset from a negative mindset with negative thinking to a more positive and optimistic outlook in life. So I grew up in a family dynamic where negativity was a real thing, and having a negative slant on things and focusing on lack and all of these things was really prevalent. And so naturally I just grew up with that sort of mentality as well, focusing on the negatives, focusing on lack or why things couldn't work, and just getting sucked into that spiral of negative thinking when something went wrong, like really focusing on it and not looking at things from a balanced perspective or an optimistic perspective. The first step that I did was started with mindfulness, interrupting my negative thinking, or just like watching what my thoughts were. So having an understanding of what these negative loops were. Where would I spiral into negativity? Like, what was I focusing on that wasn't positive? So this part is really important. So when we can understand and see what our negative thinking is, from there we can start to rewire things and change things and challenge those thoughts. And so some of the things that I would do would be catastrophize. So if something happened, I would blow it out of, proportion, or make it like really, really big when it may not have necessarily been a huge thing. Other things that I would do would be playing the victim card, like, oh, poor me, like, why did this happen to me, la la la, that type of thing. And not saying that we aren't victims of things, of course we are. Not saying that catastrophes and traumas and really, really hectic things don't happen to us, because they do. It's not about that. When that happens, we need to give ourselves time and space to process it. We need to love ourselves and be compassionate to ourselves and address those things. But oftentimes the focus for me would be on minor inconveniences, things that wouldn't be a problem in 5 years' time. And that was kind of a benchmark for me when I first started looking at my negativity or my negative thought patterns. It was, am I going to care about this or even remember about this in 5 years? And a really high percentage of the time, the answer would be no. And so I would know that this is just a temporary, minor issue that needs to be addressed. It's not a huge catastrophe. Some things actually are, and that would fall into the other category of, yes, this is probably going to still be on my mind, or this is going to change the course of my life in 5 years' time. So it's about making that distinction and understanding kind of what's what and what deserves our attention and what we can probably address in other ways and reframe. And so that would be the next thing I would do. It was reframing. And we can do this through therapy or through a psychologist. But when I was in my teens, I learned about cognitive behavioral therapy and how to rewire our brains and how to reframe thinking, and did it on myself. So if it was a negative thought, something that didn't really deserve a whole lot of energy, if it was just a thought or something minor that needed to be addressed, then I would reframe it. So the first step was kind of about having that mindfulness, that awareness to be able to catch the thought. And then the next step is about reframing it. So where a negative thought happens, reframe it into a more positive thought. And so doing that over time, repeatedly and consistently, every single day, every single thought that you catch, slowly over time actually start to rewire your thinking into a positive, to be able to look at things optimistically, to be able to go, okay, my first thought about something might be that that's not going to work. My reframing of that would be, I'm not sure if that will work. How can I make it work? Or what are the other possibilities in this? Or if I was negative about myself, having compassion for myself and reframing things where I'm not good enough, I would reframe it to, I'm learning and I'm growing every single day. I'm better today than I was yesterday. Or even if it is something that has happened to us that isn't pleasant, acknowledging that and saying, yeah, this sucks. This situation right now isn't fun, or I'm not enjoying it. However, reframing it is saying things like, I'm going to give myself time and space to deal with this. I'm going to process the emotion around this. And I know that over time, I'm going to heal from this and move on. and move forward. And no matter what circumstances happen to us in life, there is always a gift. Even the most tragic and horrible experiences that we wouldn't ever wish upon anyone, that we would never want to experience ourselves, even those situations have a gift. That gift isn't some sort of denial of a tragic or horrible circumstance or something that was really unpleasant and awful. No, it's just saying that both can exist concurrently, both can exist together. This tragic, horrible, circumstance that I would never wish on anyone is what it is. It is that tragic. And also, this is the gift that's within that. And so it's not about the toxic positivity where we're ignoring things or denying things. It's about fully acknowledging our experience and what's going on and what we're thinking, and making a choice as to how we want to treat that moving forward, and what kind of person we want to be, and what kind of energy we want to be giving out, and how we want to be approaching our life and the world. And so part of this is also making an assessment on what this negative thought is or what's going on, and applying the right amount of weight to it. Making an assessment of something big and something small. Like, I used to get trapped in these negative spirals about other people's reactions to me, or what other people thought of me, things like this, that really shouldn't have had that much weight on them. Like, it was people that I didn't really necessarily even care about. It was coming from a place of insecurity and, oh my gosh, that person doesn't like me, or that person reacted to me in this particular way. Putting a lot of importance on other people and worrying about external validation and spending days trying to unpack someone else's behavior towards me. Like, those types of things didn't deserve that much weight and that much time. And so now other people's reactions or thoughts of me, I couldn't care less, really. If it's someone that's important to me and in my inner circle, and there's an issue that needs to be addressed, of course I will address those things and be introspective and look at myself and change my behavior if I need to. But, that's kind of an assessment of the weight and importance of the people that I care about too, and what my reactions and my actions are towards them. And so I think this is a really important thing. Like, making a conscious effort as to where our energy goes, making assessments about the negative thoughts that happen and how much time we want to spend on things, and do these things really even matter? It's really important. The next thing I want to talk about is visualization. So making time every day to visualize the outcome that we want, to visualize what we're wanting to manifest, to change the thinking and emphasis from lack or not believing in things, of negativity and like kind of loss of hope and feeling like a victim and helpless, to what would I actually want in this situation? What do I actually want for my life? And dedicating time and energy and effort to that. This has been super important. This is how I think I've been able to create a life that I'm starting to really love. So we're dedicating time and energy and effort into visualizing the things that we do want in our life, visualizing what would make us happy, fulfilled, the outcomes that we would like. So we're more likely to take actions and steps and move towards that than if we focus on negativity and what we can't do and lack and being a victim of things. So visualization, super, super important. It's really easy to do. There are plenty of guided visualization meditations and things like that, or you can just spend a little bit of time every day. It doesn't even have to be long, visualizing, what you're wanting for your life, what the outcome is that you want. Another thing that really helped me, particularly at the beginnings of changing my mindset from a more negative one to a more positive one, were things like affirmations. So exposing myself to affirmations. When I was in my 20s, I printed them off and would, stick them all around my room and be looking at these every day and reading them every day and really ingraining these positive affirmations within myself, like starting the day with that, with positivity, with positive affirmations. So helpful. Another thing I did to change my mindset from a negative mindset to a more positive one was taking a more empowered approach in terms of asking myself the right questions of, this is my situation. There's always going to be some things that aren't within our power, and there's always going to be things that are within our power to do. So like taking on that personal responsibility, saying, what can I do to improve my situation? And even if we can't do anything physically, we can always change our mindset. We can say, I choose to do this particular thing because I want to. We can say, I choose to forgive that person for that, or I choose to move forward with my life in this direction, or whatever the case may be. Sometimes it is about choosing to forgive and not hold on to resentment. Sometimes it is about choosing to walk away from things or let go of things. There's always things that we can do within ourselves to take responsibility for every situation that we're in. So the next thing I wanted to mention was gratitude. So feeling gratitude and having a practice around gratitude can be really helpful in terms of changing a negative mindset to a more positive mindset. So in the past, I may have done rituals around this, like every morning started the day with writing down 3 or 5 things that I was grateful for, or ending the day that way. However, now it's more mixed into my day, and when I do experience a beautiful moment of joy or awe, or just a nice experience where I feel good, I will be grateful for that and feel into that and express gratitude for that. And that can be anything. It could be watching a beautiful sunset. It could be experiencing a moment of joy with a friend. These sorts of things. We can really maximize these moments by feeling gratitude. And the final thing I wanted to talk about when it comes to things that I did to change my negative mindset to a more positive and optimistic mindset was around being really mindful about the inputs in my life. So really curating and being careful about what I was exposing myself to. So that means people, places, things, social media, pretty much anything like that we can absorb. Really being mindful and careful about that, cutting things out where possible, where I could. And that's anything negative. That's negative thoughts, negative beliefs, not engaging in negative conversations with people. And a lot of women get sucked into like gossip and drama, and I just don't do that. I don't talk badly about anyone. I don't engage in gossip. I don't have time for it. I'm not interested in it. If people are doing it, I don't partake in it. And in future, I actually try and avoid those people because that's negative, that's toxic. And when we're talking about people in a negative way, we're directing negative energy towards them. And I just don't want to be putting anything out like that in the world. I want to be putting out positivity, optimism, hope, love. And that means treating everyone with kindness and respect, even people that don't deserve it. And that doesn't mean being a doormat and accepting poor behavior. We should not tolerate poor behavior towards us. It's a case of having boundaries in place, of course, around things that, or people that might be toxic for us or negative, but also looking at things from a higher perspective and seeing that that person's engaging in that behavior and these might be the reasons why, and I'm not going to judge that, and I'm going to have boundaries in place to protect myself. But this is something I've actually had to work on myself because I do, like everyone, we've all got emotions. We all can get pulled into these things sometimes where our emotions get the better of us and we do kind of fall into these patterns of negative thinking or talking badly about others or gossiping or whatever, particularly if we've been subjected to something painful in terms of their poor behavior, that can be really difficult. But something I've been learning is to look at things from a more compassionate lens, to look at the deeper reasons for people's behavior. And this is a more positive and optimistic way to look at things. And that can be really hard sometimes, to actually forgive people for their poor behaviors towards us. But when we hold on to resentment, when we don't forgive, we're just hurting ourselves. So finding that place within ourselves to forgive can be a really healing and beneficial thing to do. So I hope this has helped someone. I love you. Bye.